Our next event is a startup showcase. Brian Monahan is moderating the session. Brian is a good friend of mine. He works for MAGNAGLOBAL and is the managing partner of intelligence practice. You should, if you want to meet him afterwards, you should ask him about his, is it a Yugo that runs on corn oil, or is it a little Kia Sportage or something that runs on corn oil?
It's a Jeep.
It's a Jeep.
Yeah.
So it smells like French fries or something.
It does.
When you putt around town.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Think of me as your carbon offset.
Well, good.
Come on up, guys. So I'm a longtime friend and colleague of Michael's inside IPG Media Brands, and I've long admired his dulcet radio voice, that rich voice. And it's just great to see your full inner Ryan Seacrest emerge. So if this digital media thing doesn't work out, I think you got a future. The Envelope Manufacturing Association next door might come tap you on the shoulder to go do their event. Well, cool. Well, good morning, everybody. Excited to be here. Rick Parkle's racking up Lifetime Achievement Awards, and he's still starting new things, so that's pretty cool to be part of, so thanks for having me. What we wanted to do today is continue to explore this blurring of lines between TV and digital, but maybe pivot for a second and focus on not just video experiences that are, I would argue, sort of bleeding from the television set to other devices. So video experiences that are defined by linear storytelling with in-stream commercial breaks that are for advertising, that are very good at sight, sound, and motion storytelling, high attention environments, building reach and top-of-mind awareness. So that's one thing that our industry is trying to get our arms around. At the same time, I would argue that there are experiences that are bleeding the other direction, that are coming from, have the characteristics of digital user experiences and advertising experiences therein that have some of those characteristics that we've come to think of as digital, things that are very targeted, very data-rich, have a lean-forward interactivity to them and really lend themselves to in driving engagement and perhaps some lower funnel metrics. So what we wanted to do today in our time is showcase some really exciting companies that are bringing some of those experiences to the living room today. As I think I loved Kevin's characterization of the automotive space at CES as not being on the whiteboard. This stuff is real, and these companies are real and delivering user experiences. And so what we wanted to do today, it's live today, so what we wanted to do was do some quick demos of what these guys are up to. I'll introduce my guests in turn, and then save a little time for us to talk about what this means for sort of the advertising industry and how we can utilize these new experiences. Okay, so first up is Steve Weibel. Steve is the creative director and co-founder of SnappyTV, which we'll learn about in a second. Steve was part of the crew at Jump Cut that then got acquired by Yahoo. For you old school people in the crowd, he was part of Quokka Sports, which was a real innovator back in the day. And I think you even will cop to being an ad guy at one point in your career. So
I did some time at Gray.
Yeah, right on. Next up, Jeremy Toeman. So Jeremy is the CEO of Dijit Media. Jeremy has been inside the interactive TV space for a number of years, worked with a lot of great companies, including some early-stage influential stints at Sling Media and Mediabolic, which then became part of Rovi. And so Jeremy's going to share with us what Dijit is doing around their Next Guide personalized video platform. Is that how we should describe it?
That's a good start.
All right.
Okay, it's working. Am I on? Anyone hear me? Yes? Hello? Good morning. I can just yell. All right, well, there we go. Good morning, everyone. So I'm going to do that thing you're not supposed to do. I'll do a live demo. I'm a Silicon Valley startup, and we like to take those kind of risks sometimes. So I'll show you everything live. We'll see how it works, and if it craps out, I can juggle pretty well. So my company's called Dijit. The platform's called NextGuide, and basically our simple belief on what's happening in TV. A lot of interesting conversations last night over beers and drinks, but there's hypothetical and there's fundamental. And fundamental, what we know is happening is a shift toward an increased consumption of streaming and on-demand content. Live's great, especially sports, reality, events, big shows, etc. But we do know that there's one inexorable shift towards an increase of all the streaming stuff. And so if we know that our consumers have more and more at their fingertips, and I can choose to watch tonight a live episode of Homeland, or last year's or last month's, or I can watch Cheers from the 80s. I can watch anything I want practically on almost any device I want. How on earth do I figure out what I'm going to watch and what platform I'm going to watch it on? And that problem, we believe, is not just consumer-facing, but industry-facing. How do we make sure that they're tuning back to live when they're supposed to tune back to live, and let them catch up when it's time to catch up, and engage them with new content as well as the old stuff? So our platform's consumer-facing, but fundamentally we are a B2B enterprise at play to bring tune-in, relevancy, data, and engagement to the TV industry. So let me jump in. What you're seeing now is coming from my iPad over here. And, there we go. Already unplugged things, which you're not supposed to do. Sorry about that. There we go. So you're seeing my TV guide here. Now, we like to think of NextGuide as kind of a TV guide on steroids. What you're seeing on the left are the services I use, Hulu+, Netflix, and DirecTV. You can, of course, customize them. You can be in movie mode, TV mode, only show me new stuff, only show me old stuff, whatever I want. Here I'm seeing picks for me. Now I'm going to breeze through a lot of functionality pretty quick. This is kind of your Swiss Army knife of TV guides, if you will. But right in the middle there you see Seinfeld. Now, to the lower right corner of Seinfeld you see a little face. I don't know if you can read that far, but that's one of my Facebook friends and the number 27. That means 27 of my friends like Seinfeld. And so we're going to pull up the entry. And this episode's airing tonight. I can tap the little watch button to see where it's actually available to watch. In this case, I found something that's only on live TV. So we're driving someone back to tune in. I can get tap one tap to get a reminder to watch this show. Better yet, I can also tap one button and get a recording interface. We've integrated with DirecTV, Comcast, and AT&T DVRs, and we'll be adding a few others in Q2. So the idea is get a show in front of a person and then let them get reminded to watch it. We serve up reminders over SMS, iOS, and email, and Android. So tell someone the show's on, and then get them to tune into it, whether it's live or DVR, we can suffice both. Now at the bottom here, you're seeing some avatars. Might be hard to see from that far, but this is my friend Ron. Ron lives in New York, and Ron's liked a couple of shows on Facebook. Now the average person's actually liked 5 or more shows on Facebook, but as we know, Facebook data is stuck in Facebook land. Nobody goes to look at their friends' likes. That's kind of how that's like stalker version of Facebook. It's just not how we use it, right? We look at the wall and we see baby photos and pictures of food. But if everybody's liking all this stuff, how are we getting that data back to somewhere where it's relevant? How do we reach Ron knowing that he likes these 2 shows through our passive Facebook activity? Also, by the way, one thing to note is Ron's not an app user. He doesn't use my app, which usually I unfriend people for, but I'll let it go this time. But Ron, we've taken this data out of his Facebook wall. If I go to one of my other friends, we can pull up whatever Ryan happens to have liked. This, by the way, can be embarrassing at times, but most people keep it pretty PG. But here we go. We can see Ryan's liked Super 8, which I thought was a pretty good movie. I can tap on that, get a Rotten Tomatoes score, tap to watch, see that it's available on all sorts of services, tap on the Netflix icon, and we'd go off and we can just watch a movie now, but probably keep us back in the conference. So let me come back to my app. Those are my kids. So while this is reloading, I'll bring us into one other thing. We believe in a concept called hyper-personalization. So I like to do this little thing. So guys, raise your hand just for a second here. Guys, raise your hand. All right, guys over 30, keep your hands up. Guys over 30 who live on the West Coast, keep your hands up. All right, so there's like 8 of us or so, 10. So demographically speaking, by household numbers, we're all the same, the 10 of us. We're guys on the West Coast who live there, and that's okay. But how are we really all figuring out who's different? My co-founder and I are the same age. We both have kids. We both live in San Francisco. But he likes to surf and do extreme sports, and I play poker, and smoke cigars, and drink wine. So when we are given a TV recommendation, for him, the X Games is a great pick, and for me, World Series of Poker is a great pick. Right? We're looking at extreme level of interest. Let me show you 3 great examples of hyper-personalization. So in our app, as you slide left and right, you go genre to genre. So I went through comedy, went through food. Yours could be thrillers, crime drama, reality, whatever you want. Well, here's Jim Carrey. I'm a fan of Jim Carrey's. And as I browse through, I'm seeing that Jim Carrey's on Late Show tonight. So I'll ask any of you if you can think of your favorite actor or actress. Do you know when they'll next be on a talk show? Probably not, and I'm guessing you'd probably want to watch that. We can drive tune-in based on people, based on things. I'm a fan of Coldplay. The app knows that because I like Coldplay on Facebook. Right? So we pull in all of your interests. When Coldplay is next on MTV, a channel I don't watch anymore, I'll get an alert. Maybe I'll actually watch that. And my last and one of my favorite examples here is the app knows I live in San Francisco. So it's bringing me things that happen there. Most of these entries will be not very interesting to you guys, but for me, knowing when the sports games are happening, pretty cool. Also knowing things like, are y'all familiar with shows like, I don't have one in here, let's say Dirty Jobs, you guys heard of that one? Pretty big show. Now, I'm guessing not everybody watches every episode. It's one of those shows, it's hard to watch every episode. But let's tap on this entry, and sure enough, it takes place in San Francisco. So this episode might be the hook that gets me watching. And we can do that across any show, whether it's scripted drama, reality. When the Kardashians show up in San Francisco, I unfortunately get an alert about it. I don't have a way to say, don't tell me when the Kardashians are coming to San Francisco, but we'll come up with that one soon. And so those are the basics of the app. Again, I could show you 1,000 more features. I want to give you a sneak peek of one last thing that we are going live with in the next few weeks. This is a web-based experience now, so I'm just now in a web browser. And we're creating a Pinterest-like experience for discovering TV. And we're teaming up with a variety of broadcasters and networks to do it. So our same functionality of one tap to record on the DVR comes into the web experience. By the way, I'm on the hotel's Wi-Fi, so I blame them for anything slow, because it's not my fault. And what you're seeing here is what people in our app are doing in a kind of reverse chronological view. And I can come along and say, oh, you know, I've heard a lot about Duck Dynasty. I can add that to what's called my watch list. And my watch list is now a universal way of reminding me about Duck Dynasty. I'll now get alerts when there's new episodes. If Duck Dynasty moves nights from Thursdays to Tuesdays or Mondays to Fridays, I'll get an alert about that. Or if there's a season premiere or a new season shows up on Netflix, that'll also come directly to my attention. And so it's basically what we think is a beautiful experience just for finding things, finding what your friends are watching, and most importantly driving tune-in this complicated over-the-top industry. That's a nutshell on us.
Thank you. And is there an advertising experience that you guys are envisioning in here?
Absolutely. So we know so much about a profile. As I said before, we know that I like poker and wine and stuff, and my co-founder likes outdoor stuff. When he comes to the site or app or any one of our products, he'll see more content tuned toward him, and that can parlay into any type of advertising. So we've indexed, actually because of Facebook Connect, we've indexed literally tens of millions of profiles, all with their TV tastes, and we can carry that information along everywhere they go, whether it's in our platform or elsewhere. So from our perspective, the way we'll primarily monetize is tuned-in advertising. We want to bring people shows that would match their needs, but we see a lot of play for brand advertising in as well, especially to tie the brands back to the shows in the place where the consumers are reading more about them.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeremy.
Sure.
Okay, last but certainly not least, Jennifer Kavanagh, who is the SVP of Marketing for zeebox. Prior to zeebox, Jen led the digital innovation at Oxygen Media, did a lot of great stuff there. And zeebox is a second screen experience. How do we describe zeebox?
Yeah, so zeebox is sort of your ultimate companion for television. And rather than sort of talk about it, why don't we just sort of jump in? zeebox was really created with the intention of sort of fulfilling 5 unmet consumer needs around television. We've all sort of heard the stats around north of 80% of people watch television with some sort of device in hand, but they're not always interacting with content related to the show. They're checking their email, they're on Facebook, they might be buying something. So what zeebox planned to do was sort of create 5 pillars intended to serve those needs. And those 5 pillars are, 1, discovery, help people find shows they want to watch faster, easier, better. Give people a means of interacting with their favorite shows. allowing people to move through the purchase funnel and buy things they see on TV quickly and easily, get more information about what they're watching at the precise moment that they're watching it, and also be social with their friends, but be able to be social at scale, or be able to scale the social experience from either very, very noisy and highly participatory to a much smaller, more intimate type experience. So just a little tee up about sort of how we're set up, because I think this is very unique to ZBox. We have some really great equity partners. One of them is NBC, Comcast, and Viacom. And what does that mean? It means that we work in very close partnership with both of those portfolio of networks in order to explore, create, build, test, and measure the kinds of experiences that consumers want to have across a broad range of show formats, whether it's scripted television, game show formats, or reality. We are based in the UK with a presence in the US as well as in Australia. We've got a large number of developers who are literally dedicated to taking information they get back from daily consumer focus groups and incorporating those things into the app. We have a rapid release schedule. We release to the Apple Store every 2 weeks, and that's really with the intention of always making sure that the product is as reflective of what consumers are telling us they want from television at any given time. ZBox also works across all of TV. So you come into the app and you're going to tell it who your MVPD is, and in exchange it's going to create for you a custom program guide, which I'll show you in a moment. So it always knows what you're watching and everything is custom to you. So this is just a quick look at where most people land, the homepage, if you will, of ZBox, and this is the TV Picks page. And TV Picks is basically curated television against a number of factors. One might be what the most people inside the app at that moment are watching and engaging with, which shows people happen to be buzzing about on Twitter, which one of your friends might be watching a show at any given moment, and which celebrities you follow are tuned in at that moment. So understanding that discovery is driven for different people by different things. Some people are interested in what everyone else is interested in. Some people are interested in what their celebrities have decided is cool. And some people don't need to be connected to TV via their friends. They're more interested in being connected via affinity. I don't have to know you to want to sit and talk to you about Breaking Bad for an hour if we're both huge fans. So that's a quick look at the homepage. And here's the program guide. So in the program guide, you have the ability to swipe through your cable channel lineup. You can also swipe into the future, so you can see what's coming up for the next sort of 24-hour period. And then you come into, after making a show selection, your show page, right? So there's some sort of basic elements around each individual show page, all of which are highly customizable. ZBox is an enterprise-level platform, extremely plug and play, giving our partners the ability to swap various types of experiences in and out to test and understand what people are looking to engage with inside of their shows. So in this case, this is a show page for the Today Show on NBC. And down the right-hand side are what we call Z tags. And these Z tags are links, essentially, that show up in a live stream that are reflective of what the user is seeing on screen at any given moment. And that goes back to that sort of information piece, right? There's tons of people who are watching television and simultaneously on IMDb, they might be Googling, they're on YouTube, I know that guy, he looks familiar, what else was he in? And so the Z tags are really designed to give people a way to perform that same sort of behavior, get to that information, but do it in a highly contextual way. So if I were watching the Today Show in this case, Bruno Mars has just appeared on the screen, his Z tag pops down, I have the ability to click on that, open his IMDb profile, read what I want to know about him, close it, all without ever leaving the app. And then down the center is sort of social stream, right? And this goes back to, you have the ability to either pull in a very broad conversation about the Today Show in this stream, or maybe I only want to feature what Matt and Savannah are tweeting about that particular day. So highly customizable with respect to conversation. And then also the ability to tell your friends by clicking the I'm watching button that you happen to be watching right now. So it's a way to let them know what you're watching and potentially invite them back in to join you. User profiles are something that we've launched recently. And again, this is really with the intention of staying more closely connected to what it is your friends are watching, as well as what they've booked to watch. So as we all know, it's very important to programmers to encourage people to make appointments with their television shows. Well, that's great. And in ZBox, I can see not only what appointments with television my friends have made maybe for the upcoming week, but I can also see what the larger community has booked to watch. So back to, what influences me most? Is it what everyone's doing, or is it what my friend's doing? Book to watch gives you the ability to get a view of that very easily. So to the social piece and the ability to scale social, as Brian said, I was head of Oxygen for several years at NBC Universal, and we were programming to young women who are 18 to 34, who are ravenous about reality programming, addicted to their devices. And what we found was it was very easy to offer up a social experience to them. What became difficult was scaling that experience, scaling it down, in fact, or sort of, being able to manipulate it in a way that achieved the intended goal, which in many cases was bring fans closer to either the conversation around the show or talent itself. If anyone's participated in a live Twitter conversation around a show, it's tough, right? Like, hey, did you see celebrity? Did you see my question? Can you see me here? Or scrolling up to try to figure out what the last kind of most meaningful thing that person said was. So what ZBox allows you to do very easily as a user, or let's say as talent for a network, is to come in and in a matter of clicks, initiate a live chat. And we're also going to give you the ability to take a link and very simply decide if you want to make that public and push it out to your social network to invite people you know and maybe don't know to come in and join you. Or it could be a public chat, and we'll allow you to pick specifically the people that you want to bring in to the conversation, thus allowing the social piece to really scale itself up and down as you want. So I mentioned earlier that ZBox is an enterprise-level platform really designed to be turnkey, plug-and-play for programmers who want to kind of experiment around the kinds of content on the second screen that are most effective for them. So what you see here are just a few of our ZBox widgets. And these widgets range from voting to photo galleries to predictive polling, live video streams, photo streams, you name it. You can pick from a broad set that we offer you. You can create your own. It's all done in HTML5 and it's very simple. But you can see here the kind of interactivity that's offered, as well as how advertisers have the opportunity to own the look and feel, really be close to that point of engagement. This is, I think, a really great example of something that we've done recently with The Voice on NBC. So during the blind rounds or the blind auditions, viewers who were inside the app had the ability to essentially be the fifth judge, if you will. So as Adam and Usher and Shakira were having their backs to these folks as they were auditioning and making decisions about whether they wanted to turn around, we gave the viewers the same opportunity to do that. So they would come into the app, and everything was managed by time mechanics. So you only had a certain period of time to make a decision about each one of the contestants. You could either choose them, you could pass on them, and then you would be shown basically how the larger community was responding to the person that you picked. Did you pick someone everyone else thought was amazing, or were you kind of an outlier and loved this person that other people maybe weren't responding to? So great example of the kinds of experiences that encourage people to tune in live and really keep them inside the app for an extended period of time. So just to spend a quick minute on the advertising piece, which I think is really important, very excited. We are going into this year's upfronts really very, very encouraged by not only the kind of product we have to bring to market, but how it fits inside our partner portfolios and the great things that they're doing. So one product I wanted to spend a quick moment on is a product we call SpotSync. And SpotSync essentially in the app allows for advertisers to serve an ad inside ZBox on a show page at the precise moment that it appears on television. This is not necessarily ACR driven, although we will be launching ACR later. It knows when a commercial shows up across any channel on television at any given time, because it already knows what you're watching because you told it. So what happens is we might be sitting in the living room watching the same show. We're presented with, let's say, a Nike ad in this case, but we won't necessarily have to be presented with the exact same ad on the second screen because, as we've talked about earlier, the ability to leverage any kind of data layer gives advertisers the chance to create, creative for the first screen, the linear screen, and then be highly customizable and very, very targeted on the second screen in order to convert users, potentially take them down a path to purchase, really up to them. So I want to show you just a quick movie of what that looks like. So I'm watching The Voice, and I'm chatting, yada, yada, yada. All of a sudden, on my TV, the Kia commercial comes on. So I get my Kia Z tag. Cool, find a dealer. Sure, I'd love to take a test drive. I click on it. It knows where I am already, so it presents for me very simply all of the local dealers in my area that are offering free test drives at that moment. The commercial has ended. The Z tag collapses back into itself, and I'm back into the show experience, never having had to leave, even if I spent several minutes giving Kia information about me. Maybe that was an ad for a movie, and I spent a few moments watching a movie trailer and ostensibly signing up for a notification when the tickets go on sale. So lots and lots of flexibility and a true ability for advertisers to not only be hyper-targeted on the second screen, but very, very contextual. In addition to that, the other sort of branding elements, we felt like it's important for advertisers to really have ownership. So these are some of the other brand products that you'll see rolling out in the app. This would be, again, a Z tag that feels a little bit like a skyscraper-ish kind of takeover that really sort of brings the brand to life inside of the show elements. And then again, here's what it looks like if Coca-Cola were sponsoring a live image gallery. And then a total page takeover, right? What happens when Maybelline decides they're going to own the Jenny McCarthy show? They're not only going to be incorporated into the branding, but they're also going to have this spot sync element, so really sort of surrounding the show in a meaningful way. And I think that's it.
Awesome, thank you. So, obviously some overlap in functionality and user experience, but whether it's social activation of video content or data-rich personalization and targeting or really immersive, interactive, simultaneous experience, obviously there's a lot of cool new stuff coming to a living room, and it's going to be surrounding premium video content. So I guess maybe in our remaining time, maybe we can have a couple sort of back and forth on a few questions. I guess the first one is, for an advertiser who's made a decision to invest in advertising their brand around video content, what's the argument, what's the business benefit to extending that linear program into some of these interactive extensions around digital content? What's the benefit to a marketer, to an advertiser? Anyone care to go first?
For us with Spot Sync, it's very specific. It's about the ability to activate your television buy, right? So that whole notion of contextually serving a message that can be highly targeted at the moment the linear spot airs is more for us about activation and getting that 1 + 1 = 3 from a second screen or a digital platform, if you will, than anything else.
Cool.
On our end, I think this might be a little controversial to say, but we're not yet convinced that any company on earth can actually drive people to a specific app during a specific. Anyone hear me? No. Am I on now? Leave us all on. What?
Do you want to use this mic, Jeremy, real quick?
Okay. Sure. Great. I hate standing. Is this on?
Oh my God.
Hello. Yes? All right. Sorry about that. So I think I'll take a bit of a controversial swing at the statement, is that I haven't seen anyone yet be successful at driving audiences to use a specific app at a specific time. March Madness is one thing, and it's a very specific type of example, as are the Oscars and big events. Every breakdown and second screen stuff shows that people are all over the map, right? So if I'm on Facebook, a snappy clip can hit me. If I'm in ZBox, a spot sync can hit me. If I'm in Nextguy, et cetera. So our focus has really been on hitting up people at other times of the day. At the end of the day, people browse for shows all day long. People do have these discussions all day long. It's, when people are on Facebook at work, they're talking about TV and other things going on. So because we have so much data about people, we believe that the brand advertising can be extended through to where they are at other points in their lives. So from our perspective, that Chevy, Ford, et cetera, ad that might get hit in live TV, might get hit in a synced experience, is actually just as relevant to bring back to that person 2 days later when they're looking for what to watch this weekend.
Interesting. So it's another sort of take on surrounding audiences that are interested in premium content, whether it's in the device in their lap as they're watching it or as they're sort of making their plans for what show they're passionate about watching. Interesting, cool. Steve, what would you say the business benefit is to brands to surround?
We've talked a lot about like premium quality content, and I think that, you know, like for instance, with Pac-12, we're doing 850 games. So that is great content. Whatever content you're already advertising on anyways, why not just check the box and also reach the same, you know, instant highlight moments to that audience that might not all be already watching. You know, just connect the entire social conversation circle with, you know, the best highlights.
Cool. So expand the footprint, so to speak, around. Good. So what about what are some of the barriers? Like what, you know, obviously sort of understanding the benefits, obviously metrics, creative. I mean, what are some of the barriers that you see that need to be overcome so advertising dollars really flow into supporting this style of user experience? Go ahead, Jeremy.
It's reach. I mean, fundamentally, nobody's got the reach yet. You know, you can even argue against Twitter if you really want to, based on the real usage of the platform. So I think until, you know, that's the fun thing about running startups like ours is this is land grab time, this is building audience time, this is building distribution. You know, our approach is partner up with TV networks because they drive distribution like nobody else can. And so, you know, even now, I'll give you the example. You know, we're a data company. Technically speaking, we generate more data than, you know, and this, by the way, we aim to partner with Nielsen. I'm sure there's multiple Nielsen people in the room. But technically speaking, we generate more data than they do already. But who cares, right? It doesn't matter. Is our data credible yet? I don't know, right? I mean, we've got a subset of the TV audience that one would say is probably not representative. So I think as all of our companies mature and partner up with the Nielsens of the world and figure out how this data really matters and the audience is big enough, then it becomes an interesting play.
I would agree, reach, generally speaking, is a challenge. However, I would say what we're seeing and are very encouraged by is the sort of narrative we're able to have with agency partners through our equity partners and their sales teams around what the opportunity is beyond reach, right? These are nascent platforms. This is largely unexplored territory. We're sort of learning together. And how do we create a scenario where we can partner up, take advantage of, you know, average use times in the app of 30 minutes around a show like The Voice or others, and create some early insights that become valuable in an agency scenario, that become valuable back to the brand, who's really very sort of hungry to understand what the potential is. So, you know, we have the ability to sort of test in, learn together, you know, do some brand lift, understand what the ultimate benefit is, not only to, you know, how users are taking advantage of the platform, but how brands can benefit from something that is highly contextual, very surrounded, very immersive. So I'm very encouraged by that, and I don't feel so far that we are, you know, as limited by reach as we have been in the past, because everyone is really interested in understanding the space and partnering with the right people to do that.
Cool.
Yeah, and I just think it's newness. I mean, Twitter cards are how you play video inside of Twitter, and they came out a few months ago. We were one of the few companies invited to test it out. So, and this is the first time we're presenting it, you know, to a mass audience. So I think as people get used to it, I mean, Twitter's totally psyched to talk to all of you and try it out. And I think a year from now, you know, it won't sound strange at all to be doing this type of thing.
Great. So last question before we go into a break, I believe. 3-5 years forward, how do we watch TV? How do I watch TV? What's that look like?
I think there's a greater expectation that there will be more of an ability to interact with more types of television, and a greater expectation that people will be able to influence outcomes across television, whether it's, I don't even think that's limited to the type of show. You know, USA and Psych recently allowed viewers to participate in a second screen experience and choose the ending of the 100th episode. You know, I think that's, and others have done, you know, similar in the past, but whether it's game show formats, reality television, scripted, I think overall the expectation for interactivity and control will probably shift a little bit.
Cool. Looking forward to that. Choose your own ending.
I don't see much, you know, I'm sorry to be the naysayer, but You know, I've been doing TV tech my whole career, and if there's one thing I see is that people actually don't change that much. At the end of the day, the average American comes home from probably not a happy day at work and has debt and has whatever miserable stuff they're dealing with, and they want to sit back and escape, right? My favorite word for TV is escape. I don't mean to paint a dour picture, but it's just kind of true. TV is about escapism, right? It's about kicking back for 4 hours and letting, whether it's the Kardashians or the top chefs or the whatever it is, take over your world, whether because their world's so much better or so much worse than yours. That's what people are doing. And so I think Jen's completely right. Game shows, one-off things, events, there's going to be a lot of new stuff. I can't wait to see what Mark Burnett does with interactivity and some new reality show where we're singing from our couches in FaceTime mode or whatever. But I also think that as much as things change, the more they stay the same.
But arguably, we didn't have iPads 5 years ago, so now that's a material change in what it's like to watch TV today versus 5 years ago.
Absolutely.
So what is it going for? Escapism is granted.
It's iPads in the bedroom.
iPads
right?
in the bedroom.
It's like the best term for what's new in TV I heard is curl up TV. So there's lean back TV. Curl up TV is iPad in the bedroom, which I think is a great term. And is pretty poignant. I mean, look, the shows I'm watching right now are The League live on FX and The Wire from the mid-2000s on HBO Go. And I can watch both I can watch both pretty much on any device I have because of Apple TVs and iPads. So that is a shift, but it's really just going from my 63-inch screen to my 10-inch screen for arbitrary reasons.
That's interesting. Curl up TV, I love it. With swipe into the future is a couple of good hashtags. Steve, what does it look like 5 years from now in terms of how we watch TV?
I think you'll just be more connected. You know, we do instant highlights, and I can't watch all the things that I like, and I love sports, I love to watch golf, I love to watch all these things, but it's that notification that, oh my gosh, you know, that game is good now, that allows me now not have to miss those moments, you know, like when the good stuff's on, let me know, bring it to me by brand, I'll be happy, and I'll tune in.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. I guess Michael, am I handing it back to you? Great. Will you guys please join me in thanking Steve, Jeremy, and Jen?